Hey there, today we'll be doing this Leetcode bi-weekly contest 100 question, that is 2593. Find score of an array after marking all elements. And the given question statement is we are given an array nums consisting of positive integers starting with score is equals to 0. Algorithm, choose the smallest integer of the array that is not marked. If there is a tie, choose the one with the smallest index, add the value of the chosen integer to score, mark the chosen element and its two adjacent elements if they exist, repeat until all the array elements are marked, and return the score you get after applying the above algorithm. So this might seem a lot of thing to do, but it is quite I'd say simple if we just understand how to do it. Now let's just take it in this manner, that is, this is the nums array that is given to us. I just write nums here. Okay, and after that we have the elements and we need to maximize or return the score. Sorry, not maximize, we need to return the score after we get applying above the all the algorithm. We need to return the score you get after applying the above algorithm. So let's just understand this in this process. Now in this process we need to see that they have said that whatever we have, that is whatever element we are having, has to be the smallest, whichever we are choosing. Now if there is a conflict, that is there exists two small numbers, that is two numbers which are equal and both are the smallest one, obviously we will choose the one with the smaller index one. So now at every given instance we need to choose a number which is the smallest in my array. What can we do? We cannot do sorting after every operation because that will give you a TLE, obviously. So we'll be using priority queue, a min heap. And what does a min heap do? Min heap basically will give you the smallest element at any given point. Okay, so this is what we have. So in the priority queue we are storing two things, that is first of all is our element and the corresponding index as well. And what is the use of this index? We'll come to it. So let's just say there are two ones in your array. One of the one is appearing on the 0th index and one of the one is appearing on the first index, or let's just say index 3. So according to the question we need to process this one first, that is the one which is appearing earlier in my array. Okay, so that is why we are storing the indexes as well, and we'll be having a map which is initialized to 0. And what is this map denoting? That is all the indexes. So it is denoting the 0th index, first index, second, third, fourth and fifth. Now this map will tell me that have I used this element beforehand or not, or this element is marked or not. Now let's drive in this first and we will get to know how do we approach this problem. So at first whatever is in my priority queue, I'll try to take it out. I'll see that okay, there is one, that is the score. And what is the index? The index is also 1. Now what do we need to do? We need to just check in our map that have I previously used this element. I see that I have not previously used this element beforehand. So what can we do? I can take this score, that is 1, and I can take it. I have added it to my score. Now this thing is done. Now it also says that it is appearing at index 1. So what do? We say at index 1 we can never use this index anymore. So I'll just mark this with 1 right here. And the question statement also says that we need to mark the chosen element and its two adjacent element if they exist and if they have not been marked yet. That means this element was existing at index 1, and also the indexes that are its adjacent, that is index 2 and index 1, is it marked right now? Obviously it is not marked. So what do? We say that we'll mark this also right now. And what does a marked index mean? That means we can never use it again. That means we cannot add the score of it anymore. Okay, so this is what we do. So this is the operation that we need to do. So we just checked that the next index and the previous index, is it marked or not? If it is not marked, we just mark it. Now the index check is very important because if not, it will obviously give you an index out of bound and obviously a wrong answer. So that part is important, and we'll see how do we do that, which is pretty easy. A bunch of if else statement, that is what we have to do. Now we see the first one is done. So what do? We just pop it out of the queue. Now what is the next smaller element, which is 2, and it is appearing at the 0th index. Now we see that okay, 2 is appearing at the 0th index, but there is a problem. We first of all check, is it already used? Yes. Have I already used it? I have not used it. But remember, while I added the score, that is 1, I marked the index, that is its adjacent element, right? This element and this element also. Though we have not used it, but the indexes have already been marked as 1. So before adding also, we will have to check that is the element marked. If it is marked in my map, I will not use it. I'll directly pop it out from a queue. Now this is done. So we come on to 2 comma 5. Now I see that 5, have I used it? I have not used it. In my map it is 0. So what do? I just make sure whatever the score is, I just add it to my answer. That is 2 is added to my answer right now. Fine. This is, sorry, this is the fifth index. I just pointed out here, but this is not. So this is my 2 right here at the fifth index. So I added 2 to my answer. Now we need to make sure that we check one thing carefully. Again, the index parameter. Now, does the right index exist? It does not. So we do not need to do anything about the next index, but the previous index does exist, right? That is its adjacent. So what do? Yes, we just mark it as 1 as mentioned in the question. Now this 5 is also not usable to us anymore, remember. So we just pop this out of the queue. Now 3 comma 2. Now the second index, we see the second index element is already used. That is, it is marked in my map, so I can never use it. The third index I see it is not marked. I can definitely use it. So let's just take out 4 comma 3. Now 4 is not used. What do? We just add the score, that is 4, to our answer. And what do we do next? Yes, we just make sure whatever the index is. So I will see that the next index, that is 4, and the previous index 2, do both of these indexes exist? If either one of them exist or both of them exist, I will just mark both the indexes as 1. That means you both indexes element can never be used again. So this is what we have done. So you see that it is already marked 1. You can again mark it 1, but nevertheless it's not going to change anything. So we just leave it as it is. So this is also done. We come on to the next part, that is 5 comma 4. Now we see that the fourth element, that is the fourth index, was already done. So we do nothing, and that is it. So we just make sure we mark this part as well, and this will be 0 as well. So whatever the answer is, that is the summation of all the elements that we had done for our score is done. So this is what we need to return, 7. And this is the whole walkthrough of the code, sorry about that, code that we are going to implement. Now let's go on to the implementation part. Now this is the priority queue, and remember we need to return the answer in long format. So I've predefined it as a macro right here. So ll. Now this is the priority queue. This is the syntax for min heap. I've already written it here. Now what do we need to do? We need to initialize the map as said, and the priority queue, which is done. Now what do we need to do? We need to push all the elements as well as their corresponding index into my priority queue. And in my map, I will initialize everything, that is the indexes, as 0 initially that we had done. So this was our priority queue, and this was our map, which was initialized to 0, if you remember. After that, we move on to the main part, that is the priority queue part, to generate our answer. And we have taken a value, that is answer, which will be returning at the end of the day. Now what do we have? We go into the priority queue until it's empty. Now we'll see whatever the score is, I've stored it in a variable, and whatever the index is, I've stored it in a variable. Now we just need to make sure we just check that, let's just say if this is my array right here, if I'm at the last index, let's just think of it as, if I'm at the last index, do I need to take care of anything which is to the right of me? Obviously not. Do I need to take care of something which is to the left of me? Yes. That is why I've written 2 if statements that will say that if I'm at the beginning or I'm at the last, what do? Just go into this if statement. If I'm at the beginning, what do? I just check that if I can take that score. That means if I'm at the beginning, let's just say this is my beginning element, this is 1. I will just check into my map that is that index, that is this 1, has it been already taken or has it already been marked in my map? If it is not marked, add it to your answer, mark this index as well as your right index. So this is the whole thing. Now similarly for the last index, we'll do it. Now this is done. Now let's just say if you are somewhere in between in your array, okay, what do? We just simply, as we dry run there, we'll just do that. We'll just check if in my map, if it is not marked, that means I'm able to take that score, add it to your answer, make sure you mark this index as 1, the next index as 1, and the next index and the previous index as 1, which means that it is not usable anymore. So this is the whole walkthrough, and at the end of the day, we just pop it out of the queue and we return the answer after we get out of the priority queue. So this is the whole code walkthrough, and also the code will be linked in the description as well. You can check it out from there. And if you did understand this, please like, subscribe, and thank you.